For many people in the Western world, we're spoiled for choice when it comes to food. On any given night, you can order a meal online and have someone bring cuisine from Italy, Mexico, Thailand, Korea, Brazil, and pretty much anywhere else on earth right to your door. You can eat grapes that have been cultivated to taste like cotton candy. You could try sushi, pizza, or steak crusted in gold leaf. Whether you're having a $1,000 hamburger or a $1 pack of ramen noodles, you expect that what's in your food is actually food. But that is not always the case. Number 10. Human finger in custard. What are your thoughts on frozen custard? Tasty dessert? Well, that's what Clarence Stowers thought when he bought a pint from Cole's frozen custard shop in 2015. He took it home, popped it open, and bit down on something that he initially thought was candy. To quote Stowers directly, he realized something was wrong, and the hard bit he found in his custard was not a hidden treat, and then he remarked out loud, "God, this ain't no nut." It was not a nut. It was the finger of a man who injured himself on one of the machines in the factory. The incident apparently happened very quickly, and while workers were in the back helping the man who lost a finger, someone in front who hadn't heard what went down served up a new helping of custard and gave it to Stowers. As an aside, the story takes a weird twist at this point because of the timeline. Brandon Pfizer was the man who lost his finger, and as we said, this all happened quickly. So quickly, in fact, that doctors advised Pfizer that he could still salvage his finger. In fact, they had a 6-hour window to reattach it. But Stowers refused to turn it over, instead keeping it in his freezer as he pondered a lawsuit. 2 weeks later, Stowers relented and returned the finger, but of course by then it was useless and could not be saved. He went on to file a lawsuit. What a dick. Number 9. Cobra Rice. No one wants to find an animal in the food they buy because typically you're not buying live animals as food. And if all you bought was rice, you really didn't want to find any living things in it at all. And of all the things that you'd want to find in it, the worst one would have to be the sorts of animals that have the potential to kill you when you put your hand idly in it to fish out some rice. A woman in India narrowly escaped death when she reached into a new bag of rice and brushed against something cool and smooth within. Taking a glance inside, she discovered a small snake, and as one does, she called the local snake helpline. This is India, and snake helplines are apparently a thing. A trapper came to the woman's house and discovered the snake in the rice was actually a baby cobra. Cobras are obviously extremely deadly, and if you think being baby makes it slightly better, think again. Baby snakes are actually far more dangerous because they have the same amount of venom with the same potency as an adult, but they lack the ability to exert any control over envenomation, which means their bites can be deadlier. Number 8. Mouse in Mountain Dew. One of the most famous cases of something gross in your food dates back to 2009 when Ronald Ball claimed he had cracked a can of Mountain Dew and found a mouse inside. The story may have just faded into the background along with dozens of similar stories if it wasn't for the ensuing lawsuit and the defense that Pepsi, the maker of Mountain Dew, chose to mount. Pepsi wasn't taking Ball's claim at face value. And in their defense, there have been many cases of scammers creating hoax to try and get money from a big corporation in just the same way. So, a company does need to do some due diligence in defending themselves, but in this case, their defense just made things worse. Pepsi claimed that the man couldn't have found a mouse in his can because if they had really lost a mouse, the Mountain Dew would have dissolved it long before he found it. Their experts said that within just 30 days, everything, except maybe the tail, would have been unrecognizable. Clearly, the evidence presented at trial would have been magnificent and terrifying to behold, but alas, it never got that far. Pepsi opted to stop things before they got started and settled the case out of court in 2012, perhaps after realizing they were just making things worse for themselves. Amazingly, someone actually decided to try this as an experiment and put an already deceased mouse in a sealed container of Mountain Dew for 30 days, far less time than the can purchased by Ball had been sealed. And you know what happens? After the month was up, the mouse had almost completely dissolved like Pepsi had said it would, meaning Ball had likely pulled a fast one on them. But make no mistake, if a mouse did get into your Mountain Dew, you'd still know something was wrong, from the floating hair mats to the pink color. Number 7. Cell phone chips. There's a fairly common theme among most items that people discover in food that relates to size. Small things end up in food. Things easily get overlooked that can sneak into packaging fairly easily. This happens almost every single time, but not every time. Back in 2012, Emma Schweiger had a hankering for some Clancy's Ripple potato chips, and when she cracked into the bag, she found chips and also a Nokia cell phone. The phone was one of those relics of a decade ago that would be considered a brick today, and it seems like it may have fallen off of someone's belt clip and landed in the bag. Schweiger found it coated in a greasy layer of chip oil. The store where she bought it offered her a replacement bag, which she didn't accept, as the incident somewhat put her off her appetite. Number 6. Mac and cheese nails. Some days you're just not feeling the urge to cook a meal and instead decide that it's easier to just heat something up. Supermarkets around the world cater to this impulse with a variety of quick frozen dinners you can toss in the microwave and enjoy in under 5 minutes. They're not fine dining, but hey, even bad mac and cheese is still pretty reasonable mac and cheese. And that's what Rebecca Shorten was thinking when she decided to have her Tesco brand mac and cheese for dinner. Midway through eating the entree, Rebecca bit down on something hard. It turned out to be an inch-long nail. She picked through the macaroni and discovered a second nail in the pasta. And somewhat more disconcertingly was the fact that there were 3 nails in the macaroni, but she'd already eaten one. Shorten ended up in the local hospital until the nail had run its natural course. Tesco, meanwhile, took the rest of the mac and cheese off the shelves. Number 5. Chicken magnets. Fast food chicken is notorious for being home to some unusual items that range from bits that look like brains to bits that look like rats, even when they aren't. But fresh chicken is something that should hold no surprises. You'd think it's just raw meat. Where and how is anything going to get in there that shouldn't be? Well, ask Chris Sedgey, who claims to have purchased some magnetic chicken from Woolworths. According to Sedgey's account, he bought a package of frozen chicken breast from the store with a magnet stuck to the outside of the package. So, on the upside, it wasn't in the chicken, except that it was still a magnet stuck to the chicken. He claimed it stayed magnetic after defrosting, and it stuck to 2 other packages of chicken as well. The store claims to have no idea why this would happen, and there's no word if Sedgey gave over his chicken to anyone to analyse. But before anyone gets too worried, it's worth noting that in the months before this happened, there were a number of viral posts around the internet that ranged from Instagram and TikTok and beyond, touting a completely baseless conspiracy about magnetic prions being injected into meat and people using magnets to allegedly prove this. Those are all fringe BS or outright hoaxes, so it's possible Sedgey was just on board with the conspiracy. Number 4. Live frog. Animals showing up in food is par for the course these days. How many times have you read about someone finding a rat in their fast food or a chicken head in their chicken nuggets? It just happens. Then there's also the poisonous spiders in your grapes that you have to worry about. But how often does someone get a new pet out of the deal? Well, that happened to Becky Garfinkel. Garfinkel had bought a spring mix salad at her local Target, but upon opening the bag, she discovered a small frog had taken up residence somewhere during the packaging process. Slightly more oddly was the fact that the little guy was still alive, so instead of freaking out completely, she decided to adopt it and it became a family pet. That's not to say she didn't freak out a little. Of course, she screamed and also apparently vomited. The frog had also had a rough go as well, enduring a bath of salad dressing and some quick thinking by Garfinkel's husband, who used tips from YouTube videos to give it some CPR and get it roused from its near-dead state. The little guy is smaller than a dime, and the family named it Lucky because, well, obviously. The company that packaged the salad promised to look into the issue to prevent future frogs from finding their way into salads. As for Target, they offered Garfinkel a $5 gift card. Number 3. A pearl. Most of the time when you discover an unwanted item in your food, it's just that, unwanted. Sometimes it's dangerous, and most times it's disgusting. So it's nice to see the very rare time when the thing that shows up is actually a bonus. Back in 2016, a woman in Seattle was eating at an Italian restaurant when she bit down on something hard. Instead of one of the usual suspects, a shell, a bone, some kind of kitchen garbage, it turned out to be a pearl. And not just any pearl either. When she had it appraised afterwards, she discovered it was a very rare quahog pearl valued at $600. Rather than selling the pearl, the woman decided to have it made into a necklace. Number 2. Toenails. It's an objective fact that finding part of someone else's body in your food is absolutely disgusting. People flinch at the very thought of finding hair in their pasta at a restaurant, and for some reason, it's these cast-off bits of humanity that seem to be the most disturbing. Maybe it's because while a whole finger would of course be nightmarish, it's clearly the result of a serious accident. No one puts a finger in a meal on purpose, outside of horror movies. But a fingernail? That's just the result of someone being gross, and a toenail? Well, that's just grossness on a whole other level. As baffling as it seems, toenails and fingernails just won't stop showing up in food, and no place in the world has a bigger issue with this than Aldi supermarket chains in the UK and Australia. Toenails have shown up in pasta sauce and bread, while fingernails have shown up in pizza, ice cream, and sardines. It's hard to say if every one of these claims is true, or if there's just a vast conspiracy of people faking nail clippings in Aldi products, but even if it's a mix of both, it means someone somewhere is clipping their nails in a food prep facility, which is just off-putting. Number 1. Meth. A lot of people drink coffee as a pick-me-up, or even just have a Pepsi if you need a little caffeine boost. But things go to another level when you leave caffeine behind and instead take a solid hit of methamphetamine. In 2015, Fred Maldonado claimed that after he drank most of his milkshake from In-N-Out, he discovered some capsules in the bottom of his cup in a paper towel. According to his account, he drank half of it when he bought it, went home, and then finished the rest the next morning. He went back to In-N-Out to ask them what was up, and they offered him a free burger. Not satisfied with a beefy payoff, Maldonado had the pills tested in a lab, and they came back as positive for meth. To be clear, that's not on the menu. Maldonado filed a lawsuit against In-N-Out, claiming that he fell ill after consuming the shake, but In-N-Out didn't respond with sympathy and promised to defend themselves in court. For his part, Maldonado had the pills tested at an independent lab, which confirmed the pills were meth, but also noted that there was no evidence of meth in the cup or on the napkin that he allegedly found the pills in. If that seems sketchy, well, yeah, it does. Unfortunately, this is where the story seems to run dry and there's no follow-up on the internet regarding the case. Typically, that means it was settled out of court, but not always. So I really hope you found this video interesting. If you did, please do hit that thumbs up button below. Don't forget to subscribe, and as always, thank you for watching.